All right, we're going to begin with a tiny bit of safety, and that tiny bit of safety is going to be your knees. Knees are special and different than some of your other joints in that you can mess them up, and that they don't necessarily hurt until bad things are happening. All of us have been armbarred, wrist locked, etc., and you feel a little pain, you tap, and you're fine. If you wait for your knees to hurt when someone's heel hooking you or knee barring you or something, then it's a little late. You can still survive. Like, there's plenty of crazy people where I'm from who don't have half their ligaments in their knee and they're still walking around fine. But I don't recommend it. It's not. But jiu-jitsu people have kind of taught us that like knee ligaments are kind of optional. Like, the Miaos don't have any of them and they're still walking. So it's an interesting thing. But the first thing we're going to talk about is something I call joint lock theory. I'm going to be grabbing random people out of the audience to use. I think I've talked to like one person ahead of time to possibly use, but I want you guys to figure a lot of this out, but I'm going to give you a little primer of, actually no, I'm not. I'm just going to have you guys start first. So the first game I'm going to do with no helping you at all, and then I'm going to help you, and then we're going to keep going back and forth between help and game and help and game. So the first game is, I'll use you right in front of me, and I'll roll with you, so I know that you know some of what you're doing with this. So have a seat in your butt. The first game is really simple. Your partner is allowed to just grab your foot however they want. And so they can either put it straight ahead, so anytime your foot's coming straight forward, so it's her left side and my right side, that's called a straight ashi or a straight leg lock, etc. If it goes across, then wildly speaking, it's called a cross. You don't have to heal me, just what's told me, it's only like So for this round, I don't want you submitting. I just want you, your goal is to keep control of the leg. So what does it mean to have control of the leg? It means that she has some sort of grip, however you want, and that generally speaking, I'm not completely standing up on top of her. So as long as she can pinch here, anything that she wants in cross or straight, she can use her legs however she wants. She can, if she knows something, she can use what she knows. If she doesn't, she can go underneath, any way that she can to just keep attachment to my leg. My only goal in life is to disconnect. So she loses the game if I'm able to fully free myself. Just let me right now, I don't want to give them any ideas. If I am no longer touching her, meaning my foot's no longer in her control, I free myself. That means I win the game. If she's able to keep my leg under control for say like, I don't know, I'll give a big number, 30 seconds, then she wins the game. All right, we don't have to actually count. I'm going to say switch. So keep going with the same partner attacking. So say that I escape. Just reset. She can grab a different grip if she wants. But the only cue that you have is keep the person's foot held. She's choosing a guillotine grip. You don't have to do what she's doing. Be creative. Just, you're not allowed to explode violently. That is not allowed. Whatever else you want's allowed, you can use your hands, use your feet, use your toes, fingers, no biting, but other than that, we're good. So that's the game. All right, get a partner, and I'll tell you when to switch. Off you go.
There is no submission allowed.
I saw that go varying degrees of well. I saw some people that clearly matched up with someone who knew what they were doing and they were just like, they won't get off me. And I saw other people who just escaped over and over again. So that's kind of what I expected. So now we're going to step back and do something that I call joint lock theory, which is, this is kind of the way that I approach not just leg locks, but all submissions. So it starts off with this idea that every submission in jiu-jitsu has a position next door to it, which is kind of like your staging ground for submitting the person. So whether it be a triangle, a rear naked choke. Rear naked choke's easy, right? Because it's being on their back. It's a standard position that we have a name for. But then you even have like spider web for arm bars. Every position in jiu-jitsu has a pin right next door. And so, well, what do those pins consist of? How far are you, sir? Even though you're half my size, this doesn't work. Right. So every single submission, so have you seen your butt? For a leg lock, it's the three things that every leg lock requires. I have to attach, so if I'm attacking, say, her knee, I need to have, be on either the side where the little stand is, or this side, but being behind Sarah, you're not going to see anything. You're just going to see the back of her head. which is very nice. You have a braid, but that's not really good. This side's great, that side's great, that's bad. Cool. So I need my legs to be attached to something proximal, being closer to her core in some way, shape, or form. If you've seen things like saddle, I'm squeezing, that could be a triangle. It doesn't matter how I'm doing it, because there's many different ways of doing it, but I need some way to attach above the joint that I'm targeting. I need some way to attach to the joint below where I'm targeting. And then to finish the submission, I need access to a large muscle group to hyperextend, twist, turn, rotate, but we're skipping that last bit. But it is important to understand, because that first drill, I said I need you to fully extract your leg from the situation because we're escaping the pin. Leg locks, just like upper body submissions, have pins. We're escaping the pin. You can also stall out the submission. Stalling out the submission can easily be done if she simply just grabs my head with two hands, like this. I physically cannot extend backwards, so I'm going to have a hard time breaking whatever limb I'm trying to attack. Same thing if you were to stand up and put weight in her foot, right? When there's lots of weight in her foot, it's very hard for me to express my large muscle groups to attack it. I will have to almost always take the weight back off her foot to do something. All right? And so the main ones I want you guys to focus on is the attachment above what you're attacking and the attachment below what you're attacking. And then the last thing that it kind of overlaps. So if she's able to slide her knee straight out, I've lost the depth. And by doing so, I've also lost attachment above the hip and attachment below the hip, right? And so, crap. And there's one more, which I didn't want to talk about, but it's also angle. Meaning, but that's mainly for the finish. But for the pin, right, if I'm just holding this, her angle isn't quite as important. So all I want you guys to do right now is we're going to do the exact same drill, but I want you to, in your head, decide the first round, you're just going to mess with their attachment above, like closer to your core, which would be the feet across the hips, right? Deal with that first. And then I'm going to say switch, and then the second round I'm going to say you're going to deal with their attachment to your foot. So that could look like hand fighting, it could look like anything, but you want to get your foot out as much as you can. So first round, deal with hips. Second round, deal with foot. Also note, it won't always be hips. There's ways to control this that aren't exactly hips, but I'm going to call it hips for the sake of kind of ease of communication right now, but it's not always actually hips. So exact same drill. Once again, I'm choosing cross ashi, but you can use whatever you want because I want this to be very general. Just grab the foot, attach to it some way you can. I haven't told you any of the entanglements. If you're sophisticated, you already know, by all means, play single legs, play cross ashi, play whatever you want, attach really tight, and see what your partner does. And see what you have to do. I want you to think about little mechanisms and mechanics that you're going to create to maintain your attachment to your partner. Fun. We're going to clap randomly throughout class, so should we just 1, 2. At least from my point of view, those of you that weren't already leg lockers, I saw an increase in your guidance because you kind of had an idea of how you were escaping. And those of you in offense, the goal of, at least the way that I view these types of semi drills is like kind of like mining for gems. You're not usually going to take anything from an idea to a full-fledged piece of your game in one random round. But because you're getting time in the position and trying to solve a specific problem, usually you'll get an idea, and then that idea you can polish over time, bring it to open mat, bring it to your friends, and like test it out on increasingly skilled people in your gym, and then eventually it'll become a piece of your game. And it doesn't have to be a specific move that would be something as big as, like, say, inventing the berimbolo or something. It might just be a little way that you keep the knee line, whether it be scooping or pulling or etc. So did anybody have like something that happened during this situation where you're like, ooh, that was good? Anybody have any positive? Yes. What's up?
You just showed me you called the shotgun grip.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So shotgun grip you felt could keep the foot in a little bit better. Beautiful. Anybody else? Anything that they discovered Other times? Yeah.
Yesterday, every time you see the back of a knee, just like you kick in.
Yes.
That also helps.
Yes. Beautiful. So that actually leads to the next thing we're going to do. So the next piece of what we're going to do is going to be talking about something you've probably heard before, right? I think it's John Danaher, Coach who said it. It's like something like 80 or 90% of all of the defense you deal with in a leg lock comes from the leg that you're not leg locking. All right. So we're going to kind of make a red team, blue team situation. So the person attacking, your job is to just harass their second leg. So I don't care what entanglement you have. It could have ashigarami, you could have 50-50, you could have saddle. I don't care. I just want you to make it your goal to keep their secondary leg as much as possible. And then people defending, your job is to use your secondary leg to cause problems. The two main ways that I usually do would be what she said, which is stepping on things. It's really good because I can clear things away. I'm a very big fan of stepping on the backs of knees. In general, both offense and defense. And the other way is using it to put weight on and rise. All right? So I want you to focus this entire round. Actually, hold on. Cardio-wise, is anybody exhausted? Good. I'm trying, like I said, like no crazy speed. I want us to think more than be sweaty. You're going to get sweaty, but I don't want you overdoing it. So the cue this time is your entire focus is using your secondary leg for something, whether it be kicking or pushing, and secondarily making sure, obviously, that I've told the other team to grab yours, so you don't want to let them possess it for too long. That's going to be bad. All right, that's the cue. All I want you guys to do, have fun, no clap this time. I kind of doubled that one up because I figured we only have an hour, and so rather than have an entire speech about standing up, I could just tell you to stand up, and you guys did pretty well. I didn't tell you guys how to stand up. You kind of just figured it out. You realize that some ways of standing up that you knock down probably easier than others. And those of you hunting the second leg realize when you have both feet, it's harder for them to stand up. So great work, all you guys. What we're going to get into right now is going to be, I guess, the next part of things, which is we talked about the hips, we talked about the feet, we talked about the secondary leg. The next in defending, what you're doing can do is they can just stall. Because not everyone tries to get out. Some people are perfectly happy just knowing that we're both going to be stuck here together and you're not going to leg lock. Part of the game is you, especially if you're smaller and your partner is bigger. I can't tell you how many times when I first started leg locking that a big person just hugged me, and that was the end of me leg locking them. I could not get away. They just gave me a hug on my head, and that was it. So now you guys get to feel like purple belt Charles's pain and go through that as well. So the new cue is going to be, I'll give you a little more this time. Maybe are you sick? All right. So I'm gonna do this if I have saddle, just because I play this out the most. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can just grab the head, right? You can just grab my head like he's doing Muay Thai, right? He could grab my arm and kind of climb the arm like a rope. But the goal that I want the person on bottom to get is that if you can get the inside of your elbow to attach to their neck, their chances of escaping your grab get really, really low. Most of us kind of are okay, like he has his hands on my head, but hands are this grip is very breakable. It might still suck, depending on how powerful this guy is, but hands are very breakable. What I found is that if he gets the inside of his elbow on my head and he attaches, this really sucks. And the chances of me escaping this, if I'm at all close to his size, pretty low. Not to mention for him, if he can maintain that and be dexterous with his feet, he can get on top and ruin my day. Because all those grips that he was doing when he was sitting on his butt, he can do when he's standing up as well. All right? So I want the person who's defending, your goal is to get the inside of your elbow attached to your partner's neck. If you can do that for 3 seconds, you win. Start again. Once again, the people leg locking, your job is to maintain the legs and keep your head from being grabbed. Arms, keep playing, because if they just have one arm, like this is a decent grab, but this is still very escapable. There are some people that have like those mason grip, masons and blue, but assume most people aren't that. Just avoid elbows on your head. That's not the only goal, that just happens to be the goal that has worked well for me on offense and been painful to me on defense. So, here you go, new mission.
Doesn't matter which hand, right?
Doesn't, I mean, I find the cross hand is more powerful, but try with both. Try with both and have your partner try and escape. If your partner, you'll find out. If your partner escapes, well then, if they don't, well then they did. Cool. Off you go.
Although right there, I feel like
Second, anybody have anything like successes, failures, happiness, sadness, anything that anyone wants to ask me about? Yeah.
knee frames are pretty solid.
Knee frames are pretty solid. What do you mean by that?
Like using that to keep distance from him coming. to grab my head.
Yes. Very nice. Excellent. Yeah.
Muay Thai cleans is very helpful.
Yes. We're doing Muay Thai and doing Jiu-Jitsu. Works. Cool. Yeah.
As a small person, it's super hard to grab the head for me from saddle especially, and it's like, it felt not like a to-go move against someone bigger.
No, this is lanky boy moves. Like people with the long arms, it's made for them. Sadly, I'm not probably your go-to, but now you know. Beautiful. Okay, so there's one more specific, like I guess not specific, like more general game we're gonna do. Then we're gonna dive into like me telling you to do this entanglement or that entanglement. All your partner's gonna do is your partner is going. Which should we go? Where'd it go? Oh, you literally blended into the clothes. I was like, I just talked to him about working with him on this and he disappeared. So you can start in many different positions. So it could be, Alex could have me in saddle, right? He could have me in 50-50. He could even have me in regular ashi, though this is a little bit harder. But the starting position is just going to be your partner has decided to stall. And so the way I'm going to stall is just by crossing my ankles. Crossing my ankles here, like someone told me, is very hard. But in 50-50, it's probably the most default go-to thing is crossing ankles 50-50. Same thing in saddle. A lot of people, it's not as common in saddle, but we're just going to pretend as, because the goal of the session is going to be, his job is to separate my feet from each other any way that he can for 5 seconds. If I can recross them, then the game keeps going. But his entire job is separate my feet. I'm not going to have him show you how to do it because I want you guys to figure it out. I'm going to give you guys a clue though. Generally speaking, the further down the lever you go, the easier it is to move things. The further up the lever you go, the easier it is to hold things still. So that would be your little clue. You guys figure out what works the best for you. But that's the whole thing. So your partner, he gets to pick kind of our battleground. He'll choose whatever configuration he likes best. And my job is just to find a way, ideally, like, if it is needless, I physically cannot cross my ankles very well. So he chose a very good one, but I can even go over. Just cross your ankles in a way that makes sense. If I cross my ankles like this doesn't make any sense because he's still going to have my top leg. So I'd recommend crossing your ankles in a way that protects the leg that's being attacked. All right? And then your other partner is just going to separate through. All right? Very, very narrow. Good luck. Copy. 1, 2. Oh, I see. I actually did not describe that drill as clearly as I thought, and so half of you, I think, or maybe a little more than half of you, were doing the drill that I intended, which was the person who was defending was, so the person attacking was uncrossing feet. But half of you realized, like, oh, you can uncross the feet of the person entangling you as well. That's actually very useful. So, whichever version you did last time, you're going to do the other one. So if this last time the person, Alex again. So my intention on the last drill was that the person on offense, Alex, because he has the leg entanglement, would be untangling my feet to submit me. But it is also quite reasonable that the person on defense would be untangling the feet of the person attacking them in order to escape. That's also a very important skill. So if you played it the first way last time, switch it up. So now I would ask the person attacking to have some sort of entanglement that has their feet work together. It can be an X, he could be doing a triangle, it could be any, but he needs to have his feet connected, and my job will be to disconnect them from each other and try to extract my leg. If you did this last time, then now I want you guys to be the person on the other side doing the disconnecting, okay? Because I wasn't planning on doing this, but it's actually a really good idea. So thank you, those of you who made that mistake, with inspiration. So 1, 2. Just share something, because like this has mostly been a exploration class, but I don't have the self-control to not share stuff that I think is cool. So I'm a very big fan of something that I call the taco grip. I understand that tacos aren't that popular out here, so you can call it a doner grip if you prefer, or maybe a falafel grip if you, depending on where you're from. But any handheld sandwich item that you eat like this, or someone I know calls them the lobster hands or crab hands. Well, anything to remember is this. And so if instead of grabbing ankles, when I'm trying to clear things, I grab feet, everything is easier in clearing leg entanglements, whether it be in saddle, single leg, everything. So if Alex just puts any amount of power in, and I try to just grab his shins and move them, he's just too strong. Like, he's good at what he's doing, he's a big guy, I'm not going to clear this. But if I shift down, and I grab his heel on one, and I grab his toes on the other, they will always undo. Like, I don't really care who you are, I will move your feet if I can grab your feet. The same thing is true in 50-50. Right, 50-50 is probably the most common situation where people cross their feet. I grab the bottom, I grab here. They just do. So I think we're going to finish the rest of this 15 minutes from the 50-50 position, not because it's the best position, but because we're symmetrical and it allows both groups to train simultaneously. All right, so all I want you to do is get here with your partner and just play. I want you to just be like, aha, and watch your partner try to put their feet back together. And just be annoying. But then they can do the same thing to you. He can separate my feet. And then now I have the same problem. Crap, I gotta get... And it gets kind of silly. But I want you to... Actually, no, don't just do 50. Start in 50-50. Once you're like, oh, this works, find something else. And be like, oh, that works. Pretty much any scenario when one crosses their feet, if I grab their feet, they will unknot. I'm not saying I'm going to necessarily escape, because there's follow-ups, but unknot some feet with some taco grips, or Duna grips, or what have you. Sabik grips, whatever you use. All right? Have fun. 1, 2. So, let's not just work because we're both symmetrical. So, if you're on this side, you're going to look at my foot. If you're on this side, you're going to look at Alex's foot. So, all we're going to do right now is we're going to, even though I know that some of you are white belts, we're going to talk about heel hooks. But we're not going to do them. What do I mean we're not going to do them? We're not finishing submissions. I've said this 5 times, and I've still seen people tapping out in the drills. You know who you are. I've caught eye contact with a couple of you. Don't submit your partner. It's not what we're doing. You win the game by exposing the heel. What the heck does it mean to expose a heel? It just means that you can see it. Oh, look, it's exposed. Usually it means the toes are somewhere between your tricep and the armpit and kind of like held. You can hold it up here, you can hold it down here. I don't care. I just care that you can kind of have the heel exposed. At this point, no, we're not bridging. No, we're not finishing. At this point for Alex, no, you're not freaking out and trying to run away and breaking your own leg. Don't do it. Okay? So I'm going to give you tools. So the first 45 minutes of class was just me letting you guys explore kind of mine on your own. Now we're going to do a bit of assistance. I'm going to give you some small tools to help you, and you're going to use them responsibly. All right? This is like giving your kid a knife for the first time. Don't cut yourself. All right? So all I'm going to be doing is trying to expose the heel. There's plenty of ways of doing it. If his foot's right here, I can take my elbow and hit his toes. I can take my hand and grab his heel. Do whatever you want. But the defense that Alex is going to do is what we want. If my elbow is off the floor, Alex is going to take his toes and pull my elbow over, whoop, and unlock it. And then my job is just to do it again. All right? So if the elbow is off the floor, this is, in my opinion, one of these. It's just an assisted heel slip. Notice it's not the heel slip you do in saddle, where you're kind of ramming your foot in there. The heel slip he does in saddle, you see that he had to move his whole body and twist everything. It's not that easy to do in 50-50 because I have inside control of his leg. He has to do something different. Assisted heel slip. Now, imagine that I put my elbow on the floor. Suddenly it's harder for Alex to get his toes there. So instead he's going to do what's called a toe slip. He's going to take the point of his toes and stab the meaty part of my shoulder. Yeah. Boop. Just like that. All right. People on this side, you can see now. So same thing. He's going to expose my heel. And so now, with his heel on the floor, Alex used his heel because he's a larger human than me. He's got bigger feet. I turn my foot in and stab my toe like this, and kind of just do a little ankle roll to take my toe out. Bloop, like that. When his elbow's higher, same deal. So like if I can get my toe under here, like this, I can either take my toe and take it out. But all I want you to do is your job is just to free your heel, right? And either put your foot too low or too high. Because most of jiu-jitsu involves a sweet spot. I want Alex's foot in the middle so I can do stuff to it. If he puts it too high, like up here or over here, right? I can't heel hook him as easily. Yes, there's stuff over here, Mikey locks and stuff. Don't worry about it right now. Just put your foot up high. And if he digs his hip really close to my hip, it's too low. So we're kind of playing like the three bears, right? Like, is that the thing you guys have, three bears? Like the hot porridge, medium porridge, cold porridge? Perfect. You don't ever want your porridge to be baby bear. Never have medium porridge. You want your porridge, you should like too high or too low. All right? So your partner's just going to start off right here, really lazy grips, and you're just going to play. All right? Just bloop, and just he's going to put. He puts it too low. He puts it too low. He wins. I pick it back up. Do it again. Bloop. Next way. This is something that I will totally do occasionally when I'm screwing around. I'll keep giving someone my heel and escaping because I like playing with fire. I don't recommend doing this with people you don't know. Do this with a training partner you trust and trust with your safety. But right now, we should all trust each other with our safety. Don't submit each other. All right? Good. That's enough times. Off you go.